I have 35 minutes left. So I'll babble on for 5 minutes, and then I'll read a good 6 pages of Shortcut to Mushrooms. 6 pages is enough. And I'll stop it here because I'm not feeling really, I'm a little sick today. So I'll read a good 6 pages and I'll end. I'll do a little read along here and I'll end it. Right. Yeah. So I'll read up to 119. I'm on 112. I'll read up to 119 and I'll end my read along. My read along of Shortcut to Mushrooms, obviously. Right. And hence why, and even those two directors, if one of those two guys are hired, again, my heart's telling me Mel Gibson, my brain's telling me Peter Jackson. But again, Peter Jackson might be a better man for the job because he did Lord of the Rings. You have the fantasy world feel, but Mel Gibson, he did the horror. He had the horror of Passion of Christ. A Passion of Christ is such a powerful story. Hence why he's also good for Last of Us Zanus. Hence why if I end up hiring the director, I'm going to have those two guys compete for the role. And they're also going to get their freedom. They don't have to pay a price to be my movie. No, they get their freedom. Hence why those guys are also going to beg their fucking asses off me when I resign them. If I hire them once filming is completed, and they experienced that international fame with Ivan VJ, they were featured at the red carpet, they got paid their nice $40 million, they got fucking spoiled with the parties, the luxury red carpet event, luxury hotel party event, they were featured at the red carpet, they got the luxury buffet, they got flown on a private jet. After filming this plea, they were like, Ivan, can I do recognize you? I'm like, no, man, but you're not good for my organization movie. You were good for Last of Us Angeles, but you're not good for Last of Us Angeles movie. You're not good for my Great Escape movie. That's how top notch of a like me more I'm gonna live, man. Even the directors chosen are all gonna beg me to resign him. The director chosen for the organization movie, he's gonna beg. The director chosen for Twilight, she's gonna beg me to resign them, to resign her. The director chosen for the Hidden Vampire movie, he or she's gonna beg me to resign them, to resign him or her, right? The director chosen for the Western Galaxy movie, he or she will beg me to resign them because that's how top my Skysers is. Skysers is top. The main reason why they're gonna beg because they want to be safe, they don't want to be left behind. At the same time, Skysers is better than Hollywood. At the same time, they got their freedom. And there's no such thing as freedom in Hollywood. In Hollywood, you're a dirty slave. In Hollywood, if you want to be a successful director, a successful actor, if you want to be a movie star, a top-notch director in Hollywood, you got to pay a price for this. There's no such thing as free money in Hollywood. Whereas for my movie, the directors chosen, the actors, they all get their freedom. I pay them their millions. I spoil the shit out of them. I save their asses. At the same time, they also get their freedom, which is worth a lot more than money. Freedom is worth so much more than money, man. You have no idea how good it feels to be free. Take it from me. Right now, even though I'm poor, it's an amazing feeling to be free, man. Freedom is in my opinion, freedom is worth more than money. It is. It's nice to be rich. It's nice to have money. I have no choice because the doors are locked on me. But I'm paying. But even though I'm paying a fee to get my freedom and to be rich. Obviously, I had no choice because what? I had no choice because the doors are all locked on me. I had no choice but to pay a fee to I had no choice but to pay this fee to get my freedom and to be rich. Because the doors are all locked on me. I had no choice, obviously. But once I pay this fee, I get my freedom and I get my wealth. And the reason why I'm this good and I'm this nice is because I know there's nothing worse than being rich and being a dirty fucking slave and not having your freedom. No, man. The fact that I got my freedom and I got my wealth, it doesn't. I'm gonna be a clean business person. I'm gonna grant these actors their freedom because I know freedom is worth so much. It's worth more than money. It's an amazing feeling to be free, and I'm also willing to pay them millions of dollars. All I ask is that you work your ass off for me. So I'm gonna tell these actors, look, I'm not gonna be a dirty businessman. I'm gonna pay you millions of dollars. I'm gonna spoil the shit out of you. I'm gonna feed you all the nice buffet. I'm gonna fly my luxury jet. All I ask is that you deliver a top-notch performance and you work your ass off for me. Which they obviously will because I'm spoiling them and I paid them millions of dollars and I gave them their freedom, which is because I gave them their freedom, they're gonna work even harder for me than what they do in Hollywood. Obviously. Those two chosen directors for Zanes, if I hire them, but look, I'm gonna pay you your $40 million, I'm gonna spoil you during the 4 years, you're gonna get featured red carpet, you're gonna be saved. All I ask is that you work your ass off for me and you deliver the top-notch best directing performance you can possibly get. At the same time, I want you consulting as a producer, as I'm not going to pay you $40 million for nothing. No, I'm paying you $40 million. You're going to be my executive producer. I'm going to give you a lot of producing power for my movie, and you're also going to what? You're also going to be directing, co-writing the script with me, taking your directing notes every time you write a section of the script. That way you're not stressed out. You're also going to be doing the consources meet. You get 50% control. And you're also going to be consulting the third year in Switzerland because you're my executive producer, consulting with the 7 team. And you're also going to be directing the fourth year as well as consulting for business. They don't pay you $4 million for nothing. And that's why those two directors, whoever's chosen, Mel Gibson or Peter Jackson, they're going to beg their fucking asses off once filming's finished, man. Because they were saved for 4.5 years. They're also going to be a part of production, post-production too. And don't forget the doc team, if they're hired, if one of those two guys are hired, the doc team will be filming them too during the 4 years. I want them filming them at their house. They'll be filming them at their house. At the same time, they're going to be filming them during pre-production, like writing the script, you know what I'm saying, doing the concerts. They're going to be filming all that. Hence why you're looking at the best documentary ever. You're looking at an unheard of indie style documentary. Better than all the documentaries you got out of Lord of the Rings, Keeping Up with Kardashians. You're looking at a better documentary than all those documentaries because I'm putting $10 million towards my documentary. Which for those Hollywood movies, for the documentaries, they only put like a couple $100,000 towards that. Whereas me, I'm putting $10 million towards my doc, and you're looking at an indie style movie. Hence why Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson, if they're hired, they're going to be lucky chosen, obviously, and they're going to be saved for 4.5 years. That's why they're going to beg their ass off if they're chosen, if one of them are chosen. And they're going to be living the life for the 4.5 years. They're going to get to party at my rooftop condo, obviously. My director, I'll have him party at my rooftop condo. They're going to get to party at my rooftop condo. So when I sign them, they're going to get to party at my rooftop condo, man. My $100 million rooftop condo, $100 million luxurious rooftop condo. Yeah, full of my party. They're going to be spoiled. And they're going to be saved. That's if I hire them. There's just a 55% chance I'll direct it myself, and a 45% chance I'll hire them. You guys already know what I'm going to choose. You know if I'm going to direct myself or if I'm going to hire one of those two directors. You can see the future. I don't know because I can't see the future, but you guys already know what decision I'm going to make, obviously. And if I end up hiring those directors, you already know which director I'm going to choose. You know if I'm going to choose Peter Jackson or if I'm going to choose Mel Gibson. You know, obviously. Because I have the keys. You can see the future, obviously. And that's how top-notch Skyscraper will be. It's looking at a better brand than Disney Film Studios, Warner Bros., Universal, New Line Cinema, all those companies. Hence why everyone who works for my company, they're all going to beg their fucking asses off. Because Skyscraper is a better company than Hollywood, man. At the same time, Skyscraper gives you freedom. Hence why it's so much a better company than Hollywood. And there's no such thing as freedom in Hollywood. Hollywood, you're a dirty fucking slave. As being free is a fucking good feeling, you have no idea. Being free is an amazing feeling. It's worth much more than having a lot of money, man. Hence why I'm paying this fee to be free and to be wealthy. There's nothing... having money is very, very good, obviously. But there's nothing worse than having money and being a dirty slave. No. But having money and being free is the best. Is the best. You're getting the best of both worlds. You're rich and you're also free. Which is an amazing feeling, obviously. Right? Whereas usually it's one or the other. Either you're free and you're not rich, but you get your freedom. Or you're very rich, but you're not free. Whereas Ivan O'Meara gets the best of both worlds. He's free, and he's also fucking rich. That's why I'm paying this fee to get my freedom and to be wealthy, obviously. And I'm saving VJ's ass so she can get her freedom with me and be rich. And those actors, I'm saving their ass, and I'm giving them wealth, paying them millions of dollars, and I'm also giving them their freedom. Hence, the actors are getting the best of both worlds. And they're also saved. Hence why they're going to beg their fucking asses off. Now, enough of my babbling. I only have a good, 20-some minutes left. So enough of my babbling. I'm going to read a good 6 pages of Lord of the Rings, and I'll end the video here. Right? So chapter 4 is a shortcut to mushrooms. So you guys already got an idea of what chapter 3 was about. Which was what? Chapter 3 was Three's Company. It's about Frodo leaving the Shire. Obviously. I'm not going to explain because you guys already gave an explanation in my last video. So if you want to get an explanation of what happened in chapter 3, go back and watch my previous video where I did my read along of chapter 3. So this is now a shortcut to mushrooms. So Frodo and Sam and them, they met Gildor and the elves at the village, the Woodland Village, wherever it is, the Wood Village, wherever it is. Gildor and them leave in the morning, and now Frodo and them are continuing their journey. It's now chapter 4, which is a shortcut to mushrooms. Again, if I sound weird, you gotta bear with me because I'm a little sick today. Now, after I make this video, I'm gonna go to the store, get a beer, get a pack of smokes, and enjoy the show. See, right? So it's chapter 4, a shortcut to mushrooms. In the morning, Frodo refreshed. He was lying in a bower made by a living tree with branches laced and drooping to the ground. His bed was of fern and grass, deep and soft, and strangely fragrant. The sun was shining through the fluttering leaves, which were still green upon the tree. He jumped up and went out. Sam was sitting on the grass near the edge of the wood. Pippin was standing studying the sky and weather. There was no sign of the elves, so I told you the elves left in the morning, obviously, right? They have left us fruit and drinks and bread, said Pippin. Come and have your breakfast. The bread tastes almost as good as it did last night. I do not want to leave you any. But Sam insisted. Frodo sat down beside Sam and began to eat. What is the plan for today? Asked Pippin. To walk to Bucklebury, because they're going to Buckland, right? As quickly as possible, answered Frodo and gave his attention to food. So Frodo and them, the next day when they woke up, the elves were gone, like I mentioned in my last video, obviously. Gildor and them left in the morning. And Frodo and them now woke up and they left them food and drinks. In the village, wherever it is, right? To walk to Bucklebury, so I told you, the first half Fellowship of the Ring is a huge drag. It's pretty much just them walking and talking, camping, and they meet people along the way. That's pretty much the first half of Fellowship of the Ring. It's not until the flight to Ford it gets a little interesting, when Frodo gets stabbed by the poisonous blade. That scene's a bit interesting. And then it's boring again because the Rivendell scene is a huge drag, obviously. Right? To walk to Bucklebury as quickly as possible, answered Frodo, and gave his attention to the food. Do you think we shall see anything of those riders? Asked Pippin cheerfully. Under the morning sun, the prospect of seeing a whole troop of them did not seem very alarming to him. Yes, probably, said Frodo, not liking the reminder, but I hope you get across the river without their seeing us. Did you find out anything about them from Gildor? Not much, only hints and riddles, said Frodo evasively. Did you ask anything about Sniffling? We didn't discuss it, said Frodo with his mouth full. You should have. I'm sure it is very important. In that case, I am sure Gildor would have refused to explain it, said Frodo sharply. And now leave me in peace for a bit. I don't want to answer a string of questions while I'm eating. I want to drink. Good heavens, said Pippin. At breakfast, he walked away towards the edge of the green. From Frodo's mind, the bright morning, treacherously bright, he thought, had not banished the fear of pursuit, and he pondered the words of Gildor. The merry voice of Pippin came to him. He was running on the green turf and singing. No, I could not, he said to himself. It is one thing to take my young friends walking over the Shire with me until we are hungry and weary, and food and bed are sweet. To take them into exile, where hunger and weariness may have no cure, is quite another. Even if they are willing to come, the inheritance is mine alone. I don't think I ought to even take Sam. He looked at Sam Gamgee and discovered that Sam was watching him. Well, Sam, he said, what about it? I am leaving the Shire as soon as I ever can. In fact, I have made up my mind now not even to wait a day at Crickhollow, if it can be helped. Again, this is not in the movie, right? Them meeting Gildor, staying at the village, are not in the movie. Again, Peter Jackson had no choice. He had to cut out all that stuff because the main reason why he cut out all the stuff is because you can't cram all Lord of the Rings in 3 movies, no way. At the same time, Peter Jackson was given a limited budget of $90 million. It was given a limited budget of $90 million, obviously. Whereas for my movie, if Peter Jackson were hired to Mel Gibson, they would have an unlimited budget for my movie, obviously. Hence why they're lucky, obviously, if they're the hired ones, because they're gonna have like an unlimited budget for my movie, man. $400 million towards special effects. $35 million plus towards building your $30 million plus towards building your sets. 60,000 extras. I can afford to hire 60,000 extras. I can afford to hire tens of thousands of people for the army, for the war. Hence why my war is looking at something top notch. Whereas in Hollywood, they only have a couple hundred people and they add their CGI effects. Because Hollywood can't afford to have that much extras. Right? The only thing I ought to take Sam, he looked at Sam Gamgee and discovered that Sam was watching him. Well, Sam, he said, what about it? I am leaving the Shire as soon as I ever can. In fact, I have made up my mind now not even to wait a day at Crickhollow, if it can be helped. Very good, sir. You still mean to come with me. I do. It is going to be very dangerous, Sam. It is already dangerous. Most likely neither of us will come back. So Frodo telling Sam, look, because Gildor told Frodo the journey will be dangerous, Frodo's now letting Sam know, look, our journey into Bucklebury and Rivendell will be dangerous because Gildor told me the journey will be dangerous, obviously, to Rivendell or to Bucklebury, whatever it is, right? It's going to be very dangerous, Sam. It is already dangerous. Most likely neither of us will come back. If you don't come back, sir, then I shan't, that's certain, said Sam. Don't you leave him, they said to him. Leave him, I said. I never mean to. I am going with him. That's where Peter Jackson got the idea of Samwise Gamgee. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee. This is where Peter Jackson got the idea of Samwise Gamgee, right? Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee, right? Leave him, I said. I never mean to. I'm going with him. If he climbs to the moon, and if any of those Black Riders try to stop him, they'll have Sam Gamgee to reckon with, I said. They laughed. Right. So Sam is pretty much saying, Frodo, I got your back, right? Who are they, and what are they? What are you talking about? The elves, sir. We had some talk last night, and they seemed to know you were going away, so I didn't see the use of denying it. Wonderful folk, elves, sir. Wonderful they are, said Frodo. Do you like them still, now that you have a closer view? They seem a bit above my likes and dislikes, so to speak, answered Sam slowly. It don't seem to matter what I think about them. They are quite different from what I expected. So old and young and so gay and sad, as it were. So Sam and them are talking about what they expected from the elves. I didn't expect the elves to be like this and all that stuff, right? Because I told you the hobbits are cut off from the outside world pretty much. So Sam and them had never seen an elf before, pretty much, right? Frodo looked at Sam rather... They never met an elf. Frodo looked at Sam rather startled, half expecting to see some outward sign of the odd change that seemed to have come over him. It did not sound like the voice of the old Sam Gamgee that he thought he knew, but it looked like the old Sam Gamgee sitting there, except that his face was unusually thoughtful. Do you feel any need to leave the Shire now that your wish to see them has come true already? He asked. Yes, sir. I don't know how to say it, but after last night I feel different. I seem to see ahead in a kind of way. I know we are going to take a very long road into darkness, but I know I can't turn back. It isn't to see elves now, nor dragons, nor mountains that I want. I don't really know what I want, but I have something to do before the end, and it lies ahead, not in the Shire. I must see it through, sir, if you understand me. I don't altogether, but I understand that Gandalf chose me a good companion. I am content. We will go together. Frodo finished his breakfast in silence, then standing up, he looked over the latch ahead and called to Pippin. All ready to start, he said as Pippin ran up. We must be getting off at once. We slept late and there are a good many miles to go. You slept late, you mean, said Pippin. I was up long before and we were only waiting for you to finish eating and thinking. I finished both now and I am going to make for Buckleberry Ferry. So now Frodo and them are getting ready to go to Buckleberry, right? And that's where they meet Merry, I believe. Right. I have finished both now, and I am going to make for Buckleberry Ferry as quickly as possible. I am not going out of the way back to the road we left last night. I am going to cut straight across country from here. Then you are going to fly, said Pippin. You won't cut straight on foot anywhere in this country. You can cut straighter than the road anyway, answered Frodo. The ferry is east from Woodhall. Right. So Woodhall is the village that they're staying in. I said Woodland. Woodhall is the village that they're staying in. I remember now. But the hard road curves away to the left. You can see a bend of its way north over there. It goes round the north end of the Marish, so as to strike the causeway from the bridge above Shock. But that is miles out of the way. We could save a quarter of the distance if we made a line of the ferry from where we stand. So Frodo and them are discussing shortcuts to Buckleberry, obviously. What's the fastest way to get to Buckleberry? What's the fastest shortcut to get to Buckleberry, obviously, right? Blah, 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 right? Shortcuts make long delays, argued Pippin. The country is rough around here, and there are bogs and all kinds of difficulties down the march. Again, all this dialogue you see is not in the movie, man. When I say the movie is 20% of the book, I really mean it. Peter Jackson only followed 20% of the story, man. There's an 80% difference from the movie and the book. But again, he had no choice. He had a very limited budget, and the studios only allowed him to do 3 movies, since he had to cut off a lot of things. He had no choice, obviously. Shortcuts make long delays, argued Pippin. The country is rough around here, and there are bogs and all kinds of difficulties down in the Marish. I know the land in these parts, and if you are worrying about Black Riders, I can't see that. It is way worse meeting them on the road than in the wood or the field. So Frodo's saying, look, we're better off taking the shortcut, because if we take the main road, we might spot the Black Riders again. And we're better off taking the shortcut than taking the main road and spotting another Black Rider, obviously, than a wood or a field. It is less easy to find people in the woods and fields, answered Frodo. And if you are supposed to be on the road, there is some chance you'll be looked for on the road and not off it. Yeah, so Frodo's telling them, look, if we take the shortcut, there's a smaller chance we're going to get spotted by people on the road, Whereas if we take the main road, there's a good chance we could get spotted by the forces of Sauron, which are the Black Riders, obviously. So Frodo's suggesting that they take the shortcut, obviously. Right. All right, said Pippin, if I will follow you into every bog and ditch, but it is hard. I had counted on passing the Golden Perch at stock before sundown. The best beer in the East Farthing, or used to be. It is a long time since I tasted it. That sells it, said Frodo. Shortcuts make delays, but inns make longer ones. At all costs, we must keep you away from the Golden Perch. We want to get to Buckleberry before dark. What do you say, Sam? I will go along with you, Mr. Frodo, said Sam, in spite of the pride and misgivings and a deep regret for the best beer in the East Farthing. That if we are going to toil through bog and briar, let's go now, said Pippin. So Pippin, Sam, and Frodo decide to take the path through the bogs and the fields instead of taking the path through the main road. Because taking the path through the main road is dangerous because you can spot people, you can spot the Black Riders. That's why they're taking they're taking the side path through the bogs, through the fields, all that stuff, right? Useless information, right? It was already nearly as hot as it had been the day before, but clouds were beginning to come up from the west. It looked likely to turn to rain. The hobbits scrambled down a steep green bank and plunged into thick trees below. Their course had been chosen to leave Woodhall to the left, to cut through silently the woods that clustered along the eastern side of the hills until they reached the flats beyond. Then they could make straight for the ferry over the country that was open, except for a few ditches and fences. Obviously, right? 4 more pages, I'll end this here. This is a short reading. Tomorrow I'll read a good 10 pages. That way I can finish a good chunk of chapter 4. I'll be moving on to chapter 5. In chapter 6 or 7, I believe, is when they meet Tom Bombadil. A couple of chapters now is they meet Tom Bombadil. Frodo reckoned they had 18 miles to go in a straight line. So it was a long journey, obviously, right? He soon found that the thicket was closer and more tangled than it had appeared. There were no paths in the undergrowth. This is all info dumps, right, about the lands and stuff, right? They did not get on very fast, blah, 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 right? When they had struggled to the bottom of the bank, they found a stream running down from the hills behind a deeply dug bed with steep, slippery sides overhung with brambles. Most inconveniently, it cuts across the line they had chosen. They could not jump over it, nor indeed get across it at all without getting wet, scratched, and muddy. They halted, wondering what to do. First check, said Pippin, smiling grimly. Sam Gamgee looked back. Through an opening in the trees, he caught a glimpse of the top of the green bank from which they had climbed down. Look, he said, clutching Frodo by the arm. They all looked, and on the edge, high above, they saw them against the sky, a horse standing. Beside it stood a black figure. They at once gave up the idea of going back. Frodo led the way and plunged quickly into the thick bushes beside the stream. So when on their journey, they caught another black figure. I believe it's a Black Rider, and Frodo hides again, obviously, right? Let me read it again. They halted, wondering what to do. First check, said Pippin, smiling grimly. Sam Gamgee looked back through an opening in the trees. He caught a glimpse of the top of the green bank from which they had climbed down. Look, he said, clutching Frodo by the arm. They all looked. On the edge, high above them, they saw against a sky a horse standing. Beside stood a black figure. They had once gave up the idea of going back. Frodo led the way and plunged quickly into the thick bushes beside the stream. Whew, he said to Pippin, we were both right. The shortcut has gone crooked already. We got under cover only just in time. You've got sharp ears, Sam. You can hear anything coming. See. Right. They stood still, almost holding their breath as they listened, but there was no sound of pursuit. I don't fancy he would try bringing his horse down that bank, said Sam. But I guess he knows we came down it. We had better be going on. Going on was not altogether easy. They had packs to carry, and the bushes and brambles were reluctant to let them through. They were cut off from the wind by the ridge behind. So Frodo and Sam, even though they took the shortcut, it's a tough journey because they have bags, there's bushes, there's all this stuff, right? But they know that taking the main road, they can be seen by what? By the Black Riders also. Hence why they decide to take the shortcut. And then J.R.R. Tolkien's dumping you with all his info dumps, right? Who cares, right? They had packs to carry, and bushes and brambles were reluctant to let them through. They were cut off from the wind by the ridge behind, and the air was still stuffy. When they forced their way at last into more open ground, they were hot and tired and very scratched, and they were also no longer certain of the direction in which they were going. The banks of the stream sank as it reached the levels and became broader and shallower, wandering off towards the marsh and the river. Why, this is a Stockbrook, said Pippin. If we are going to try and get back on our courses, we must cross at once and bear right. They waded the stream and hurried over a wide open space, rush ground and treeless on the further side. Beyond that, they came to a belt of trees, tall oaks for the most part, with here and there an elm tree or an ash. The ground was fairly level, and there was little undergrowth, but the trees were too close for them to see far ahead. The leaves blew upwards in sudden gusts of winds, and spots of rain began to fall from the overcast sky. This is all info dumps, right? Blah, 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 who cares, right? Then the wind died away and the rain came streaming down. They trudged along as fast as they could over patches of grass and through thick drifts of old leaves, and all about them in the rain pattered and trickled. They did not talk, but kept glancing back and forth from side to side. After half an hour, Pippin said, "I hope we have not turned too much towards the south, and are not walking long ways through this wood. It is not a very broad belt. I should have said no more, a mile at the widest, and we ought to have been through it by now. It is no good. It is no good our starting to go into zigzags," said Frodo. "That one man matters. Let us keep on as we are going. I am sure that I want to come out into the open yet." They went on for perhaps another couple of miles. Then the sun gleamed out of ragged clouds again, and the rain lessened. It was now past midday, and they felt it was high time for lunch. They halted under an elm tree. Its leaves, though fast turning yellow, were still thick, and the ground at its feet were highly dry and sheltered. When they came to make their meals, they found that the elves had filled their bottles with clear drinks, pale gold in the color. The elves filled their bottles with drinks when they were sleeping, obviously, right? This is all useless. So pretty much chapter 4 is pretty much they wake up in the village of Woodhall, right? The elves leave. They found that the elves are gone. The elves leave them with food and drinks. They discussed what path they're gonna take. Frodo suggests they take the shortcut through the bushes and the bogs and the fields and all stuff. Instead of taking the main road, they decide to take the shortcut, obviously, through the bogs, the bushes and all that stuff. They see a black rider and they hide. And they continue their journey. They camp, and that's pretty much what a shortcut to mushrooms is pretty much. There's a reason why they call it a shortcut, because Frodo and them take the shortcut through the what? Through the bogs, the fields, the bushes, and all that stuff, instead of taking the main road. That's why it's called a shortcut to mushrooms, obviously. The shortcut leads them to the mushrooms. That's why it's called a shortcut to mushrooms. I figured it out. See, I'm not too stupid, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And again, if I comment and make errors, all you Lord of the Rings fans, please bear with me, as I'm not well grounded in Lord of the Rings compared to a lot of these smart Lord of the Rings. So I hope I'm doing a good job when I'm doing the read along for Lord of the Rings. Obviously. And I should get through all of book 1 by the end of October, because I'm almost halfway through book 1. I'm almost halfway through book 1. I believe chapter 6 is halfway through book 1. Yeah, man. So 2.5 more chapters, I'm halfway through book 1. Obviously. But it is no good our starting to go into zigzags, said Frodo. That won't mend matters. Let us keep on as we are going. I am not sure that I want to come out into the open yet. They went on for perhaps another couple of miles. Then the sun gleamed out of ragged clouds again, and the rain lessened. It was now past midday, and they felt it was high time for lunch. They halted under a palm, so it's pretty much them camping, walking through the bushes, fields, forests, all that stuff, right? Right. They halted under an elm tree. Its leaves, though fast turning yellow, were still thick, and the ground at its feet was very dry and sheltered. When they came to make their meal, they found that the elves had filled their bottles with their clear drink. So the elves filled their drinks, right, filled their drinks when they were sleeping, obviously, in the Woodhall village, right? Pale golden in color, it had the scent of an honey made of many flowers and was wonderfully refreshing. Very soon they were laughing and snapping their fingers at rain, and at Black Riders, the last few miles they felt would soon be behind them. So they feel that the Black Riders are following them, obviously, right? 2 more pages and I'll end it here. Frodo propped his back against a tree trunk and closed his eyes. Sam and Pippin sat near, and they began to hum, and they sang, and then to sing softly again. Here comes the annoying music again, right? Annoying songs. Ho, 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 to the bottle I go, to heal my heart and drove my woe. Where it may fall and wind may blow, and many miles be still to go, but under a tall tree I will lie, and let the clouds go sailing dry. I believe Peter Jackson put this song in the movie, if I remember right. Ho, 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 they began again louder. They stopped short suddenly. Frodo sprang to his feet. A long-drawn wail came down the wind, with the cry of some evil and lonely creature. It rose and fell and ended in a high, piercing note. Even as they sat and stood, as if suddenly frozen, it was answered by another cry, fainter and further off, but no less chilling to the blood. So Frodo and them hear a cry from a creature, right? It was in a silence, broken only by the sound of the wind in the leaves. What do you think that was? Pippin asked at last, trying to speak lightly but quavering a little. If it was a bird, it was one that I never heard in the Shire before. And the reason why he's never heard in the Shire before is because the hobbits are cut off from the outside world. Everything is brand new to them once they leave the Shire, the borders of the Shire, obviously. It was not a bird or beast, said Frodo. It was a call or a signal. There were words in that cry, though I could not catch them. But no hobbit has such voice. No more was said about it. They were all thinking of the riders, but no one spoke of them. So four of them they suspected to be one of the riders. They heard this voice, heard this cry, and they expected to be the voice of one of the riders, because they think the riders are on their tail, pretty much, right? No more was said about it. They were all thinking of the riders, but no one spoke of them. They were now reluctant either way to stay or go on, but sooner or later they had got to get across the open country with the ferry. It was best to go sooner and in daylight. In a few moments they had shouldered their packs again and were off. Before long the wood came to a sudden end. Wide grasslands stretched before them. They now saw that they had in fact turned too much to the south, and away over the flats they could glimpse the low hill of Buckleberry across the river. So now they're arriving to Buckleberry, right? But it was now to their left. Creeping cautiously out from the edge of the trees, they set off across the open as quickly as they could. Let's shut my camera here.